Howdy folks, and welcome to Adrenaline Fueled Firearms. My name is Scott. Hopefully you've looked at some of my other videos. If not, maybe you'll like this one. Like and subscribe. Comment down below. Be constructive. Common courtesy, folks. You absolutely positively 100% have the right not to agree with what I have to say, but you don't have to be a dick about it. So, just behave like you weren't raised by animals. Speaking of raised by animals, I got rid of the extra facial fur because it's getting warm out, so hopefully there will be some outdoors videos. But let's get on to what we're going to talk about today. This is going to be a companion slash follow-up video to my last video. I meant to put this out a couple days ago, but stuff got kind of nuts. I lost a fight with a weed eater, and so what we're going to do is put this out now. So my last video, I discussed, calibers that don't stink, i.e. stuff other than 223. And 223 doesn't necessarily stink. It's a great varmint cartridge. We'll say that again. I'll say it a bunch of times. I don't like it. There's a lot of other cartridges out there, and a quick recap, if your sole theory behind shooting 223 is cost, buy a 9mm PCC. I literally just looked up the prices, and currently post-COVID prices, 9mm is half the price or less in a brass cartridge or a steel cartridge than a steel cartridge 223. I'll still reach out to 300 meters. I'm going to do a video on that, actually show you the shot groups I get out of a PCC at 300 meters in 9mm, because no crap, it works. I did it myself before I did videos as kind of a, hey, this is kind of neat thing. When the Beretta CX4 came out, it's a 9mm carbine, for those who aren't familiar with it, uses Beretta magazines, so it's not an AR style. What we're going to talk about today is AR style, and we're going to move past the whole caliber conversation debate. We're going to get into something I think is really important when you get away from 223, and that's magazines for your ARs. So I think this is really important. I mean, if you're just going to stick with one caliber and it just happens to be 223, who cares? It's rando, $5 military surplus, blah blah, yakety schmackety magazines all effing day long. However, once you move away from 223, and especially if you own multiple calibers, you're definitely going to want to get to the point where you have separate magazines for different things, even if it's just a color change. Because definitely 100% what you don't want to do is go slapping a 223 magazine in your 300 black rifle, because it'll go, and pretty sure it'll chamber, and then it's going to go bad. So there aren't many rounds that are going to chamber in place of each other and cause an extreme catastrophic explosion. However, it's never a great move, it's never a good thing, and it's never going to be as safe if you're attempting to insert the wrong cartridge into the wrong firearm. It's just not a good thing to do. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've done with magazines and show you some of the options you have available on magazines for various calibers and in various formats, so that you can create your own plan for how you want to handle different magazines for your different calibers. So first off, I'm OCD enough that I do own 223 and I do own 5.56 NATO. So I have an old 223 Remington, no BS, rifle, not 223 Wild, 223 Remington. It's an old friggin' AR. So no 5.56, no wacky other craziness, none of the M whatever 5.5. Literally fire 223 Remington through it or have a bad day. So my actual 223 Remington goes in steel magazines. So the steel magazines, to me, the steel and aluminum magazines, the old school ribbed suckers, say old school obsolete Merry Christmas, so I use them to load old school obsolete cartridges into my old school obsolete AR. Like I said, I also own 5.56, and my 5.56 upper is literally an old Olympic Arms A2 style hand grip, 20-inch barrel upper. Plastic magazines that are literally labeled 5.56 NATO and are a different grip style even than my other similar magazines. They're made by a different manufacturer. I only use them for my 5.56 NATO, so I don't write on them. This is 5.56 NATO. It's got a 223 looking bullet in it when it's loaded. That's the stage I take to separate those two rounds, because even when the round chamber's in a chamber that is basically not got a bunch of extra space, it may not be designed to tolerate the increased chamber pressures created by a heavier projectile, i.e. 223 Remington versus 5.56 NATO versus 223 Wild chamberings. So I mean, we've already not even gotten out of the universe of 223 and you can already blow your face off. So magazine discrimination and knowing which firearm utilizes which magazine are supremely important to your safety and the safety of the people around you. 5.56 NATO. Now, alternatively to 5.56 NATO, we get to my favorite cartridge. Oh, this might be your first video. Sorry, I left a little blank there for everybody at home to go. 300 Blackout. Yeah. 300 Blackout is my personal favorite cartridge. I like it. When I am not running subsonic 300 Blackout, I have PMag magazines that are literally labeled 300 Blackout. So while they are a standard PMag, if you look at it in any detail at all, you'll see 7.62x35 and 300 Black both appear on both sides of the cartridge. So even if I don't have any cartridges in it, so I can look at it and go, hey, that's 300 Black. I can look at the magazine and go, that should be 300 Black. I don't want to load some other trash in it because then we got problems. Then we go to my smallest caliber. Now these are going to be kind of hard to mix up. If you can figure out a way to get a 22 long rifle cartridge into a standard AR magazine and get it to feed, do a video. I want to see it. But the 22 LRs for my 22 LR upper are kind of self-explanatory. You have this very small unit, so I don't label them beyond that because, well, little orange follower that apparently gets stuck sometimes. Move along. 6.8 SPC. I literally have, these are also steel mags, but there are a slightly different length, different material, different coating, appearance and feel, and the follower on it says 6.8. Now, when you're looking at your magazines, you're not going to be able to find stuff that's clearly labeled for all the different chamberings, because like that 6.8 SPC magazine, that unit will also run 224 Valkyrie. Due to their cartridge similarities, they share the same bolt face. I'm not 100% sure if the angle is different or if it's just a length. But you do have magazines for different ammunitions which have different angles that you need to be aware of. Now, speaking of that, we're going to get into our comm block stuff, communist block. And that's just because I'm old, and back in the day, Russia used to be communists and they created the AKs, so I call them comm block still. 545 by 39. Now, 545 by 39, I could not find any magazines that were clearly depicted as that. Based on that, even my 545 by 39 upper, the entire coloration of the unit is going to be desert tan. So I did the PMag tan magazines or FDE magazines, depending on, you know, whose copyright you're stepping on. That way I have a color differentiation, because when you look at these, they're very, very similar to the appearance of a 223 round side by side. The shoulder's different, but at a quick glance, an inexperienced person could make that mistake. So by matching the color of my upper to the color of my magazines, even when I have people who are less experienced that I'm helping train, or if I'm saying, hey, you know, go grab blah blah ammo from the gun safe, it's the FDE magazine and grab that. So that's the thing. Color coding is definitely a valid point. 6mm ARC, I believe, operates out of the same magazines effectively. At least the stuff online says it does. When I get my upper built, I'll try it out and see what happens. it will be a different color also, and its upper color will match its magazine color. Same thing. So you can see that trend. I move it on through those chamberings that could become a problem because they're similar and still use a 223-556 magazine. So I look for different materials, I look for a different appearance, and I look for a different feel. On the feel side, my theory behind that is if you're wearing your tactical vest, or if you have multiples, or if someone else is working with you, because when I train people, I tend to carry all the ammo, because it's a lot harder for them to accidentally do something when I'm not paying attention if they don't have any freaking ammo. And you can hurt yourself with a firearm without putting ammunition in it. In the military, it's called butt stroking someone or bayoneting someone. Yeah, guess what? That works about as well as bullets sometimes, depending on what kind of bullet it is, but they don't ban bayonets. You know what? We're not even going to get into that. Let's deal with the magazine. So, a tan magazine for comm block. My other comm block round is your good old 7.62x39. Now, you can see this is a severe banana mag, just like an AK would run. That's because the shape of the cartridge wants that steep curve. There were some early issues that people reviewed various things and then ended up using AK magazines in a cut down and altered AR lower, but to me that defeats the point. I'll be doing a video later with these, because these particular magazines that I've found, they work just fine. Standard AR lower, 7.62x39 upper, low recoil training rounds even. I mean, I literally threw 10-plus-year-old Steel Wolf that had been buried in the freaking ground in a waterproof container through it just to see if I could get it to foul up. I mean, I tried everything to get it to foul up, and with these magazines, zero malfunctions, including the old ammo that got dug up and shot. I mean, if it'll shoot old butt ammo and low recoil training ammo and feed just fine, I'm willing to call it good to go. So, those are your smaller shouldered rounds primarily, and you notice their magazines are kind of similar. Now, our last kind of shouldered round that we're going to talk about that I have is 6.5 Grendel. So what I do for my 6.5 Grendel is I've bought the genuine no garbage Alexander Arms magazines that say 6.5 Grendel right on them. Yeah, so once again, minimizing the ability to F up. One of the things that a friend of mine suggested to me that I found it too difficult to do just because is with a black upper, you may actually replace your dust cover with a specific colored dust cover that may match your magazine coloration. So like where I have the polymers that match my uppers, you would have a standard upper with, say, a red anodized dust cover. And then you buy red anodized magazines to shoot whatever ammunition it is. However, when you get into looking for your different magazines to go in the AR, you'll quickly encounter the problem that while there are a vast majority of them that they will do a 5.56 223 magazine. There are a ton of colors and textures and materials out there. When you start getting into the other chamberings, your possibilities become lower. On the bright side, if you have a 3D printer, I'm sure you can print out darn near anything, but I don't, so I didn't, so I won't discuss that. So, 6.5 Grendel, same way. Big Daddy Tiny PP, I'm a bad man. 50 Beowulf, again, Alexander Arms magazine, 50 Beowulf, clearly labeled. Although, if you pick this magazine up and you pick up a 223 upper, and it says 50 Beowulf back here, but this here, and the difference between this and this don't clue you in to the fact that this is not 223. More training, and if that fails, I'm not actually sure they allow you to box up and return a firearm the way you would a computer, but it might be worth a try. But first, more training. Then two of my favorite straight wall cartridges again. Now here we run into some problems because cosmetically these two magazines are super similar to each other. I mean, just, you can see, I mean, they're same height, you have to actually carefully look at them and see that this lip here is different. I tend to always keep at least one round in these because I don't like writing on them, because when you write on them you become dependent on that writing and it may wear off. Now, the exception to that, as I stated, is my 300 black subs, but I shoot them enough, I know I'm going to be repainting them, so I just drive on with it. But your 450 Bushmaster and your 350 Legend magazines are very, very similar to each other. They just, when you get all the way down to the bottom, the easiest way to tell the difference is the followers. The 350 Legend follower is going to be a side-by-side follower, so you have a little lumpy bit and then a flat spot, so that when your first round goes in, it goes next to the lump. And your 50 Beowulf, 450 Bushmaster have a divot, so that there's one round straight stacked down the middle of the whole magazine. And I think that gives you, I think 10 rounds in this magazine. My Beowulf is 7 rounds in that magazine because of the difference. But again, the nice thing on that is there's a slight cant. So you have a slight bend in the 50 Beowulf magazine. So it's even labeled. When you do this, as I said, what you want to do is hunt around and find the things that have the most differences that you can look at to make it the easiest not to foul up. I mean, as far as I know, you're not going to get a 50 Beowulf to actually even go into the chamber of a 223. If somehow it worked out like that, I'm sure it would be catastrophically grody. A majority of these rounds are not going to chamber in each other's uppers. It's just not going to work out above and beyond the problems you're going to run into if it does chamber and you pull the trigger and it goes off. Do the most you can do for yourself, for your own safety and the safety of other people who may be around you, near you, and get hit by pieces of you or metal fragments from your firearm. Be as safe as you possibly can to keep track of what round you have in what magazine for what upper. And I can't stress it enough, because it is a very important safety issue. And I mean, I almost hate to touch on the subject, but let's face it. In the modern political environment, every time something goes wrong with an evil black assault rifle firearm, oh my God, the media just comes down on it with both feet. I mean, it's just a fact of life these days. So be considerate of not only yourself and the people directly around you, but be considerate of other members of the shooting community and behave responsibly at all times. Not just with your magazines, but with all your treatment of the firearm. Train on it, make it second nature to behave in a safe manner when operating a firearm. Sometimes, as they like to say these days, getting hurt is not just about physical injury. So, keep that in the back of your head. I don't agree with everything that's said by the press or anything else like that, but that's an important lesson learned. Your behavior, your actions will affect other people, and you need to be sure to behave responsibly while handling firearms. It's not just about physical injury, it's about political injury, it's about social injury, it's about so many more factors. You need to be aware of this. You need to behave responsibly, and you need to be safe and responsible at all times when handling a firearm. So there's your little, kindergarten hoo-hoo caution speech. Your pre-mission safety brief, whatever you want to call it. This video went a lot longer than I wanted to, but there are a lot of things to deal with when you're looking at your magazines and your magazine selection for your various calibers. And that's not even counting the 3 or 4 different magazine types that are available for the less popular AR-10, LR308 platforms. Probably not going to do another video on that, but I mean, they're laid out here. They're not going to go in your magazine well, but they look very similar. Don't foul that up. As you acquire more firearms, more safety becomes more of a consideration. More is more. Behave more responsibly, think and plan more extensively, and behave more safely. Thanks a lot, folks. This has been a long, bloody video. If you made it to the end, I hope you get something out of it. Watch everyone else's videos, be polite to other people, and have a great day. Thanks a lot.